Welcome to Sports Geek Throwback. Here's your host, the sports geek himself, Sean Callanan.
G'day, I'm Sean Callanan from Sports Geek, and welcome to Sports Geek Throwback, where I pick out the best bits from the Sports Geek podcast archive. For this week's Sports Geek Throwback, I go back to episode 189 with Paul Rogers, which was published in April 2018. Paul was at AS Roma when this episode was recorded, and he's now an investment analyst at the Raptor Group. Remember, if you need help with your digital, marketing, sponsorship, please get in touch. It's what we do in applying the digital to dollars process to help your team build revenue. In this throwback episode, Paul and I discuss localizing content for international fan bases, which is amazing because that's what we now do working with the NFL in the Australian market. Remember, you can listen to the full episode at sportsgeekhq.com/189. Enjoy.
Going back to your point about the internet, that early time, again, it was like the community. Like you'd post something and you'd be responding because the audience was getting, was still relatively small but growing, and you had that community feel. How did you go from like you roll it out and you're starting to put your content and you're testing what's working to then this audience and the numbers just skyrocket as, there was a few levers that were changed, that were pulled around, what happening was with Twitter, and that caused growth, and then, Facebook with pages and stuff like that really caused a big spike. How did you go through that like exceptional growth period that a lot of the
I think
clubs went through?
I think it was like, well, obviously that was just like everyone was just getting on it, and at the same time football clubs were getting on it, the general public was getting on it. So and then it made sense, and then people started following different. You'd follow more than one club. It was a different audience. I always knew it was a little bit sort of problematic that you knew that you were building this on someone else's platform. Yeah, and I always knew that, and we had this sort of website competing with it. So you own the website. It's what you know. Those metrics are probably better for you. People are selling onto that platform, and we were traditional journalists. Yep, metamorphizing into social media people. But I always knew that let's not go all in on social media. And Arsenal, I remember Arsenal went all in on. Arsenal and Liverpool used to share stats and on website stats. Yep. We were quite close in terms of that. And we always had like higher website traffic than them. But then they all went in on social media a lot heavier than Liverpool sort of did. And then their website traffic went right down. Yep. But their social media traffic went up. And their social media followers went up. And we would look at it and sort of like, is it the right thing to do? Is it the wrong thing? And I don't think there was any right or wrong. I think times proved, not that you would ever change what you did, but that, it was the risks that we knew there was a risk. We knew that Facebook at any point could just change the... I always thought it wouldn't be so much they would cut reach or organic or the algorithms. I actually thought at some point they could charge. Yeah. They could charge by followers. Yeah. They could say to the big brands, hang on, why are we doing this? It's like the Yellow Pages or something.
Potentially, yeah.
And I always thought that could happen. So it was sort of like... It was sort of arm's length a bit. We were like first on, but it wasn't like, let's give them everything. Yep. We've still got to keep a website afloat and stuff. I think the big game changer for us, Liverpool, was I was looking at some metrics around our website, and our website traffic would have been, if I looked at the top 10 countries, it was, I think, 7 or 8 of the top 10 countries on Liverpool's website in terms of traffic were English speaking. Yep. So it would have been, it actually was the UK, Ireland, USA, Australia, Malaysia, Singapore. Yep. And maybe Denmark or somewhere would have been in there, or Norway certainly would have been in there. But generally, English-speaking countries. When I started to look at Facebook in great detail, our number one country was the UK, and then it was Indonesia, then it was Thailand, then it was Malaysia. India would have been somewhere in there. But basically, Mexico, Colombia. Basically, I worked out something like 7 or 8 of the top 10 countries on Facebook for Liverpool were foreign language. Yep. But on the website, it was all English. Yep. So I thought, well, instead of just launching new websites in all these languages, everyone's on social media, why don't we launch international, local language social media and do it localized rather than translation? Yep. And that was the key thing.
And so that's when you did that split of setting up regional-based social media produce content for that market in that language, in that tone. And so it was a different approach, but that's what worked and connected with those markets.
Like we were quick to set up social media accounts for the club. When we decided to go down the international route, we were basically very quick again with that. We knew there was an audience because the audience was there on Facebook following the club. They just weren't consuming the content because they couldn't understand it. So we had to localize content. And generally it was about language. The language was a barrier. In some cases, like when we did with India, it was more about localization. It was more about personalizing and giving a different sort of feel to those fans.
And then did that feed into the international tours and that kind of stuff? Because, if you're saying, hey, we're going to tour in this part of the world, you go put that on the standard Liverpool channels, they become more and more cluttered. And so it gave you a little bit of that segmentation. People in London don't want to really know a lot about the Australian tour, but everyone in Australia wants to know everything about it. And did it give you a bit of flexibility?
Yeah, I think the fans want to know everything that's happening about the club. But what it meant was that we could actually just deliver content in a potentially different way. If it's a language issue, then we're breaking down the barrier of language. But one thing we were finding with Australia was, even though it's English language, we were posting at the wrong time. So, and it was a very different experience for those fans to be able to get content at their time. And you can just schedule the content.
And again, this is, we're not just talking Facebook specifically because it's, some have algorithms and it would still pop up. But if you're posting at 4 a.m. in the morning and your fans aren't seeing it, like it's a big thing.
If you like this Sports Geek Throwback episode, please check out the full episode at sportsgeekhq.com. Please share Sports Geek with your sports business colleagues. We appreciate you sharing. We love working with podcast listeners. Please get in touch so we can help your team. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call. All Sports Geek episodes are available at sportsgeekhq.com and all podcast platforms.